This tale was a peculiar experience since it did have its ups and downs, but ultimately feels like an average story in the wrap-up. A lot of Twilight Zone fans say that the show didn't truly find its footing until the beloved Walking Distance, and considering the quality of this one, I can definitely agree. In this journey, we follow an aging, washed-up actress named Barbara Jean Trenton. She was once one of the hottest starlets in the world, but now her fame has faded away, leading to her secluding herself in her mansion, desperately reliving her glory days, to feel any last shred of happiness. However, her agent, Danny, a nice guy who loves her, attempts to break her out of her depression and return her to the real world once more. I mean no exaggeration when I say that this episode is basically Rod Serling's fanfic for Sunset Boulevard. Like, word for word, scene for scene, this tale is a watered-down version of the legendary noir Sunset Boulevard. In fact, most of this episode is reenacting all the iconic film's moments, while the only magical thing that happens occurs in the ending. Yes, seriously, most of the episode has no supernatural stuff in it until the twist ending. Kind of odd for a Twilight Zone tale, but there are good concepts here too. This episode functions as an early social commentary on how unfairly old actors are treated in the showbiz industry, since Barbara attempts to reignite her stardom, but due to her old age, she's outright told that she's never going to be that same young, hot starlet she once was back in her prime. Barbara wants to become famous again, while Danny tries his best to appease her dream, but also bring her down to reality. And here's where we get to my biggest issue with the episode. It is extremely difficult to sympathize with Barbara. She has this vain, smug prima donna attitude all throughout the episode, but we're still meant to sympathize with her even when she acts like a condescending jerk. I'm not asking for a noble paragon hero, but she could be at least likable, and I'm just going to say it, Barbara does not have nearly the same tragic wooby traits as the lady she's based off of, Norma Desmond. In Sunset Boulevard, Norma snapped. Her delusions of fame were treated as a dark flaw she had. She lost all her fame years ago and ended up being a total nobody. In the Twilight Zone's version, our arrogant actress is still receiving acting roles. She's just throwing a fit because she's not the leading lady. In the second act, Barbara is given a role in a new picture, but she gets pissed off that she's playing the real main character's mother. The role is still vital, but she refuses to play a mother because #ageism. Then she acts like a smug prick again, leading to the film exec finally telling her off.
I don't play mothers, Mr. Saul. I never have and I won't start now.
You're just an aging broad with a scrapbook.
Look, Marty.
And any part you get at this studio will be charity.
However, the episode wants us to feel sorry for Barbara after this, but I don't. Barbara is such an unlikable Squidward that I actually cheered on Discount Harvey Weinstein for calling her out. She is that nasty. Again, in Sunset Boulevard, Norma had not been famous for years and was all but forgotten over time. Here, Barbara is still getting movie roles, yet she's refusing to do them because she doesn't like playing older characters. The fact that she's even getting roles at all kind of goes against the washed-up loser gimmick we're meant to relate with. And this is most of the episode. Barbara angsting that she's old, refusing to let go of her past, Danny trying to get her out of her funk, then Barbara throwing a hissy fit. I do think the concept is intriguing, but since it's mostly based on Sunset Boulevard, it makes me just want to see Sunset Boulevard instead. This episode actually inspired the Haunting Hour Tale Creature Feature, a fun horror story about a kid getting absorbed into his favorite B-movies and venturing through wild nightmares, which I also recommend seeing instead, because the show at least knew to make Joel Courtney lovable, yet still tragic. Barbara does have some sympathetic characteristics, since the episode implies that she was just another result of the terrible Hollywood system and can't handle losing it all, but she's still clinging to her delusions of grandeur and acts so ungrateful towards Danny that it costs her any points. Danny invites one of her former co-stars over for an intervention, but it only fuels Barbara's depression even further when she sees how old he is now. Yes, in spite of us feeling sorry for Barbara crying over getting old, she hypocritically shames her ex-cast member for getting old and retiring from acting after he got a life. It's meant to be the final straw for Barbara since she runs away to her safe space, but it just makes me hate her so much because she acts like a bitch over how her old flame matured and moved on. Yeah, how dare you open up a chain of Smart and Final stores? You suck because you weren't the shadow I chased in my heyday.
What a bitch.
Barbara cries in her room again, where we get our rather random dark twist ending. Barbara seems to have wished upon a star because after wishing she could live out her last days in the fictional past, she magically gets absorbed into her film reels, Last Action Hero style, and happily reunites with her younger castmates to play pretend forever and ever. Danny finds her in her special edition collection and tries calling to her, but she leaves behind only her scarf as a final farewell, and disappears in the final frame. I think the ending is intended to be a metaphor for suicide, since Barbara gives up reality to chase her fantasy land, and the episode quite darkly treats this as a sort of death scene. It's no Willoughby, but it does have a good bittersweet ending. Barbara ends up chasing her past, while Danny is left heartbroken that she's finally gone in a dramatic fashion. Overall, this episode has cool ideas, but is just meh. There's a ton of dialogue scenes and exposition in this one, to the point where it really drags down the pacing. It gets so dull in places, and I stand by Barbara being a real base-breaking character. You'll either feel for her bitter, tragic fate, or be annoyed by her haughty attitude like me. The story has good commentary, but honestly, you're better off just seeing Sunset Boulevard or the Haunting Hours Creature Feature instead. And heck, even the Twilight Zone followed this one up with a better Stop Chasing Your Past episode. So the showrunners might agree it's weak too. I grant this tale a silver skull. The 16mm shrine is alright, but definitely could have used another cut.
To wishes, Barbie. To the ones that come true. The Twilight Zone.